Good morning. October 18th. Let me put the banner up and we'll get good. We'll get going from there. Okay, so the sound's not on. Okay. So hi. Hey, John. All right. So sorry about that. So let's start over here. The sound button wasn't pushed. So October 18th. Now, what we're looking for here on Tesla is very simple. All I was explaining was you have this bearish engulfing, then you've reversed, and now you're making a higher high. So this is a reversal pattern, right? In other words, you popped over. We can get rid of this level right here. You popped over and now you're rallying. Okay. And now you're over the 10. You have not been over the 10 since back here. And that's definitely something that you're going to want to focus on, right? Like you definitely want to focus on this. And that's kind of where my point is. You want to put yourself in a position where, do you want to buy here? I don't think you do. I don't really want to buy Tesla up, where it is right now. I kind of want to leave it alone and see how it acts, right? You have to be really careful about buying when you're bidding up so much. Just let them go up. Just let things work. You don't have to be in a big hurry here, right? But you want to make sure that they work. I mean, that's all you're doing here. So just make sure of that before you go out there and start moving things around and start chasing things, I guess is the best way to explain it. You definitely don't want to be chasing anything today. You have your positions on. You should be letting your positions work and go from there. I want to go through the indexes, and then we're going to cover Nflx. So I'm not a huge anchored VWAP guy, but there are places for it. You're going to want anchored VWAP probably at the top of this peak so you can kind of see what's going on, how you've been respecting it. The thing about anchored VWAP is if it doesn't respect it, it's kind of pointless, right? Because it's not really that big of a place of interest. If you're not going to respect it, it's kind of silly. But here you're respecting it here and you're respecting it here. So when it respects anchored VWAP, I pay closer attention to it. Now you're getting above that 10 on the Qs, but you've been here before, right? We've already been to this dance. We've been to it here. We've been to it here, right? Now over this, I have a 22 in, but if you look at these levels, right, you've never closed over it. Okay, so just be clear. I'm using, I think I have a 22. Do I have a 20 in? No, I have a 22 in. So I've never closed over the 22. Okay, so if I can close over that today, maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's something to it, and we'll go from there. Let me just see that. Let me just see this. People were having volume issues. You weren't having volume issues. You were having me issues. I had the mute on. So all right, so these are the levels that we need to watch, and this is what I would be focused on now. In regards to financials. You want to pay attention to them. You definitely don't want to ignore Goldman's earnings. Goldman had great earnings, stocks up substantially. You want to see this. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for stocks that are breaking out above, right, these highs. I mean, that's really what you're looking for. So, you know, it's interesting because if you are looking out a little bit longer term, right, and you're buying down here in these June lows, you've never saw those lows again. So you have to start looking at these and saying, are we seeing some kind of turn? I would argue that you are starting to see something here that we probably should be paying attention to, right? So if you go back to, let's say, September, and you draw the line just straight, and it's not perfect, the line by any stretch, right? They never really are. There are more areas of interest than exact lines. Let's just make that line a little bit bigger. I think that might work that way. There you go. So like, look at Goldman, and now look at this turn, right? So now you have a little bit of a turn going here where you're making higher lows, and now you're starting to make minimum, right, higher highs, but you really have not been doing that, right? It's happened a couple times. It's happened here where we've tried. You know, it's happened here and we've tried. So are we going to try again and fail? I don't know, but I do know that this is very interesting. It's something I'd be paying attention to. I am watching this very, very closely, very closely. And the fact that, you know, all of a sudden that 31 that I'm worried about, we're right now flipping. See how you're flipping that level? I mean, you should just have this on your screen all the time and just be monitoring it. You know, I said something in the trading community yesterday, and I'll just share it. You've not had a rally or a bottom put in without financials or semiconductors bottoming and then rallying. So in other words, you've never led off the bottom of a move in the past 50 years unless semiconductors lifted or financials lifted. Okay? You don't need both, but you need one. Financials to me make a little more sense. Semiconductors have a lot of stuff they're still going to have to get through. And I would not expect great earnings out of the semiconductor groups this year, this quarter, for the rest of the year is what I mean. I'd be focused on other names. I would not be going crazy with them. Now, there are some names that are in that space that I own, but I'd be really careful there because especially on the equipment side, you're going to have some blow-ups. Now, XLF, focus on financials. I can't stress this enough. This is where you want to be. This is what you want to focus on. Okay, these are the names that are going to continually push higher. And that's really where your head needs to be. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to be looking at some of these. Hold on one second here. Sorry about that. You don't want to be looking at these names and trying to figure out exactly, you know, why you're not in them at the wrong time or why you're in them at the right time, right? So what do I mean by that? I mean, you have earnings coming up. And so you're going to have to figure out how you're going to play this, okay? Because everyone's going to trade a little differently here, but you have to be really careful about just buying randomly when you're up like 4 or 5%. I'm not saying that there isn't a spot to possibly get in this. I'm not saying that it's not going to bottom. You know, I've been talking about this and the potential that you're going to put some kind of short-term bottom in ever since that reversal, right? We've been talking about that since then. And I don't see a reason to assume that that is going to stop. So let me just see something here really quickly and make sure I have this done right. Yeah, so I got to make this listed. So that's the problem here. I don't have this public. So there we go. I apologize for those people. For some reason, it didn't stay public video. So people are having a hard time finding it. So there it is, and it's public. All right, so that'll help. Now, in regards to what we're seeing going on out there, let me just jump into this. See these levels? Watch them like a hawk. If you can start clearing stuff like this, you're going to have my attention. Just watch those kinds of levels, right? Names that you're seeing some interest come in. This is something we got in the newsletter where we're in 88. So we're up about $2 in it, 2.25. There's very little to do here with this. I would tell you that if you're a long-term investor, you know, we're already up like 5% in it. But if you're a long-term investor, you need to start looking at these kinds of names. As long as the 10-year is staying below this 4%, you could see those names rally substantially. And that's something that you really have to look at. Like, they're really beaten down and they could absolutely go a lot higher. So I don't know, I don't know what most people are looking for here, but names like these REITs, they could go higher. This IIPR, I mean, it's got the wind at its back. It's got the government that's now trying to promote everything. So I really think it could continue to move. Like, they're really trying to push that. Hey, good morning, Jen. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the best way to explain this. Like, let me just walk you through this. So again, this is something that we bought, right? But we paid a lot. I won't say a lot less, but we paid probably 7% less than where it is right now on it, right? I think you have to be really careful here, but it's going to be really hard to not get interested when they start breaking out like this. Like, does TQQ get to this level? It could. It very well could get to that level. Okay. And that's something that you need to really focus on, right? Can it get there? Can it stay there? Maybe. Maybe it can. Maybe can it get up to here? Maybe. Yeah, maybe it can. Maybe in a very quick order. So you're going to start tonight with names like Netflix, right? We already know that's where it's going to start. So we already know that Netflix is going to come out with earnings. I have no idea how much we run up into earnings or if we pull back. I'm just going to state this very clearly. Caveat, I have a position in this. I have zero interest in doing anything with it right now, except watching it. Okay. That's the only thing that I will be doing with it, is just sitting and watching the position. I don't want to do much more with it. And, there's a reason for that. I want to try to stay in for earnings. So I have a position and I married a put to it. And I think I can lose about $1 on the entire trade, right? I'll lose my gain, but I think I can only lose $1. I would not be surprised to see good news on their ad revenue and people get excited about their ad revenue. That would not surprise me. Now, you're gambling with this, but I would not want to be short going into this earnings call. I mean, we already know the blow-ups, right? So are you going to have another blow-up like Disney? I don't think you're going to have another blow-up like Disney, right? Well, why don't we think that? Well, we don't think that because Disney didn't have a blow-up last time, did they? Right? So I'm really curious to watch this conference call because I don't think that we're going to see the abandonment of subs like we just saw. I don't think we're going to see people knocking their ad revenue. I think people are going to look at their ad revenue model and be excited about it. Very similar to what Microsoft did with someone called Facebook. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I have pretty high hopes on this as far as they're coming out with their plan and what they're going to say. But just continue to watch the names and see how they trade and go from there. But I really like the software names. I understand that they're going to continue to move here. They look like they were completely breaking down and going to the next level. I was watching a lot of people post these things on, social media, looking at these charts. And look, the one sector that crushed last earnings, okay, was, if you just take a look at it, okay, even I thought Crowd had good numbers. I forget why it dropped on that. I think it made it come out at the wrong time. But Snow, like, you look at these earnings, they're not bad. They're actually good. So it's hard to see a stock going to continually drop at the same rate that we've been dropping while this is going on. Let's take some questions while we're here. What's going on, Ricardo? We have sound now. What's going on, Cam? LABUELF. Yep. So let's get into this. LABU. And that's pretty clean, right? I don't really see a problem with it. I still have positions, Cam, as you know. I mean, if I had to tell you where what you want to see is you want to see over 811. If you get over 811, then this downward trend line is broken, right? If you get over 811, that down trend line is broken. So you want to watch that today. This sector makes a lot of sense to me, a lot of sense. So I'll show you this chart really quickly. Let me just see if I can get there, how quick I can get there. How long this takes. So if you take a look at how biotech is performing, let me just see if I can do this, how quick I'm going to be able to do this and flip. So if you take a look at how biotech's performing versus the Nasdaq, this is the worst underperformance it's had in over 20 years, right? Something like 20 years, actually last like 15 years. Here, take a look at this. I think this is worth our time to review. So you can kind of see where my head is with this. So this is the biotech industry versus the Nasdaq. Okay. And this is its relative performance. So you can see where average relative performance is, right? So if I do fib retracement from the beginning of when we did this to now, right, you get a sense of where you're at, right, on a pretty much level, right? You're at a 50 roughly, right? You're like a 51 or something, 52. You're at a 30, right? So you're literally standard deviations off from the norm. I don't see how eventually it does not rally back to at least normality, which means either the Nasdaq's going to go up and the XBI is going to outperform and Nasdaq's going to go down and then XBI is going to do less. Either way, I don't see how you can't be interested in what's going on with the XBI right now. I just don't get it. Like to me, it just makes so much sense because they're not worried about inflation. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. Yes, you're going to borrow at a higher amount of money, right? But you're still going to be in a position where you have great potential. And that's really where your focal point should be, right? You want to focus on the potential of what you have. And I think somewhere that's being lost. So something to definitely think about and something that I would continue to, focus on here and see how we do. That's really where my head would be. I would not put myself in a position here where, I'd go hog wild, but I think you have to look and say, what is going to be the next group of names that come out that light the world on fire? And to me, it's going to be like LABU and those kinds of names. Okay. So that's where I would focus on. So ELF, let's take a look at ELF and go from there. Yeah. So I really like this name. I was interested in it. I did nothing with it based upon what was going on. Let's get rid of these horizontal lines. This was last earnings when it just ran up and it's just grinding ever since. There's very, very little to say about it. This is really a very simple trade. I mean, you've just been walked up the entire time, right? Every stop. I mean, you can see this, right? It's like stairs. Every single time. And if you were just using these little lows as your stop, you would never need to get out of it, right? If you did this from earnings on, you just use that lower low system, right? You'd never need to get out of that. See what I'm showing? So you just would have stayed in the trade the whole time if you were using this as your low, if you were trying to. But that's very easy to say and very hard to do in this kind of environment, Cam. But I like it. What's up, Michael? MULN. What's going on, Zero? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're thinking. Are you? I don't know. I mean, to me, it's a zero, right? I just don't see any reason how that company's even staying around. I don't know if you're looking to short it or what you're looking to do there, but I would be short that and just assume it's going to go to zero. I wouldn't be playing with that if that's what you're asking, zero. So if you look at Amazon and you look at what's going on here, I think you're in decent shape. You can see this rally right here, right? Look at that. And you can see how you're acting. Okay. So do you want to buy this here? You're chasing. Like, do you want to buy something that's up $5 in this market? I don't. I don't really want to do that. There's only a couple names that actually look very decent off of how they're acting right now. We've popped over this line before, and then we've rejected, right? And we made the higher high and everything, and they lured us right in, and then they rejected. And that's what you're going to have to watch, because if you're going to do that, you have to get out of the way. I don't know. I mean, to me, look, I've been saying this in the trading community, and I've been saying this for some time. I think it's possible that you're putting in a bottom in the next 30 days, because you're going to go into midterms. Midterms are going to decide, that we're going to be landlocked again. So nothing's going to happen, right? Just devil's advocate. It's not a political statement. You're going to get a Republican House, maybe a Democratic Senate, and you're going to be landlocked, right? And nothing's going to get done. And so now you're going to have that certainty out of the way. And then now you already know what interest rates are, right? So you know that they're going to raise 75 basis points in November. You know they're going to do 50 in December after the last CPI number. So, there are the kinds of things that you really have to focus on. But what do we do with that information? Well, I think you have to think about this holistically. Like, how much lower do you think we're going? Right? Like, if inflation's peaked here, right now, you've done your undercut, right? So let's just walk through this so you kind of get where my head is, because I think this is more important than just individual names. So you kind of get it. Well, that looks like an undercut to me, right? So what we did was what? We undercut, flushed everybody out, had this falling wedge setting up. I mean, could you think of a better time to start making a cup than now, when everybody is so convinced that the sky is falling? I mean, how much stuff do we have going against us right now besides threat of nuclear war, right? And you start looking at things like that. I mean, how much other stuff do you have going against you right now, right? So, threat of nuclear war, supply chain issues, energy shortages, food costs, like global inflation. Like, it's insane. And these are issues. These are real issues. And we undercut and we're rallying, going into earnings, going into a Fed hike, going into midterms. Something to think about. Okay. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's where my head is. I think you have to look at it from that perspective. Everything has bounces. Yeah, I mean, we're not chasing, Ricardo. Like, I'm just telling you now, like, we're buying the dips. Like, in the trading community, we've been buying dips, and then we're just reversing positions. Like yesterday, we try and give you some ideas. Like yesterday, SOSX, like I went long this yesterday. I made money on it. Then we got out of the way. FSLR, we shorted this. We made money on it. Then we got out of the way. I still have a short position in this, but I mean, that's what you're doing. You're pulling money out of the market constantly, Ricardo. If you're not doing that and you're trying to move in the same direction as these gap ups or downs, you're going to be at a lock. I mean, TQQ, we bought 3 days ago. Nobody wanted anything to do with it, right? Now we're up 7% in it. So, and now you may have a position, and that's my goal with this. Now you might have a position that you're in for the next, I don't know, month and a half. If this thing can trade back up to 35, you have a home run. So it's all about positioning, right? You cannot be buying these just when they're up like this. Like, can Tesla go up? Yeah, it could be up 10% today. Maybe you want to chase that. Maybe you want to try that trade. Sure. Look, they have everybody trapped right now. Okay. Everybody got trapped here. Everybody shorted. Then they rallied you up. And then you had the people that were going to come in and hope today. And this is what they're getting. This is their hope and dreams being smashed right now. Right. So I think you can't be playing the gaps. You can't play the direction of the gap, right? You can't buy up 2.6%. You either bought yesterday or you didn't. And if you didn't, then that's fine. But you cannot put yourself in a position where you're just chasing everything. You're going to get smoked. And the amount of money that you're going to make is negligible in comparison to the risk that you're going to take, right? So that's something to think about too. Like, how are you going to buy Tesla this morning and say you have no risk? You have 5% risk just on a gap fill all the way back down. Just on the gap fill, there's 5% risk. So you're going to have to figure out how you're going to quantify that risk and get in the trade. for me, I would just be really careful. We, about a week ago, we started putting names, I think Thursday or Friday, we started putting names on, and we're just sitting with them and seeing if they work. And when they hit the stops, we're getting out of the way. But you don't want to be playing these gap ups and gaps downs, Ricardo, because what can happen? This is really important to get. Good morning. This is really important for people to get, everyone to get. You have no idea what Nflx is going to do tonight. I have no idea. I haven't, and I'm going to just be very blunt about this. I'm going to talk about it in great detail in the trading community. I have a huge, like for me, it's a very large position in Nflx, but now I'm hedged with options. So my risk is like $1, $1.50. I can lose all my profit, but what if they have good earnings? Now, let's play the flip side. Let's say they have bad earnings tomorrow. What do you think the Nasdaq's going to do if Nflx talks about recession, talks about how bad things are, about all the subscribers that they lost? The Nasdaq's going to gap down. It's not going to gap up, right? It's the exact opposite of what you're seeing. What you're seeing today happen has a lot to do with what's going on at Goldman. Okay. All my 1,000 lines here. We can get rid of them all. But yes, just get rid of them. But what you're seeing happen in the Nasdaq has a lot to do with what's going on in Goldman, right? Now look at XLF. Okay. Now, do you want to play Goldman's earnings into today? I wouldn't do that. It's not something I'm going to do. Am I going to run out there and buy everything right now? I'm not. So you can't play. If you play the gaps and you're playing the gaps in the same direction, you might make money, but you're going to underperform. And then eventually you're just going to get caught on a reversal. You're better off watching these gaps and then setting up a level, right? So in other words, what you do is you look at these gaps and then go, okay, well, where could I get back to? Well, I could get back to this today. All right, well, if I get back to break even today and I pull back, and people will say, well, that can't happen. And it could happen in an hour. But let's say you come back to break even, right? Let's say that happens. What are you going to do about it, right? Like, that's where you start looking for your buys, not up here, right? You should have, like, I'm not saying this for any reason, but you should have bought yesterday. You should have bought Friday. You do not chase now, right? You'll get smoked. I mean, I can't be any clearer. Let's keep going here. Good morning. SRG upside. Shock, I'm still in it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many people are out there going. I got to be honest. I don't really know how many people are out there going. You know what I need to do? I need to buy some commercial real estate company with the mortgage rates going up, and we don't know when they're going to stop. You know, when someone buys SRG or takes the entire company over, when mortgage rates stop going up, probably, after December, something like that. Now I have a position in it that I'm just leaving alone just in case it ever happens. But yeah, I mean, this is really hard not to play, right? So here, look, here's your undercut. Here, let's get rid of it. Let me start over. Why does it keep asking this? Is there a way to check that box maybe? So here's your undercut right there, right? Okay. Here's your flip right here. Okay. See that? Now what? Right? That's a double bottom, right? If you close over that line, you have a double bottom. That negates this downward trend, right? To some extent, you still have to see it's still there, right? You still see that, right? It's still there. But now you have a sign that the downward trend may be negated. I think you might get up to here, say you do it at 11. For me, it could be taken out at any time. It's trading under book value. I just don't see a lot of people sitting around the boardroom right now going, you know what we need to do? Our stock is depressed. While our stock is depressed, let's go out there and buy some assets. No, they want to do it when their stock is up, not when it's down. So I think that limits the buying potential of the company right now. But I'm still long. I think it happens in like 6 months, 9 months, something like that. I'm just going to sit with it. I hope that helps. I hope that helped, Ricardo. I'm just trying to explain what's going on out there. Yep. Please like the video. I did SF. I'll go over it in the private room in a moment here. I'll go over it again. Let's go through this and keep going. Hoping to sell out by end of year, pay me into property taxes. Sell calls against it. Just keep selling calls against it. Right? Go out to, December, go look for calls and sell calls against it. I mean, you can definitely do that. I apologize for not making this video public earlier today. That was my mistake. Walmart. Yeah, I mean, you can look at these names. I look, this is an extremely difficult market. Okay. This looked like the nastiest thing in the world yesterday. All right. Walmart looked like the nastiest thing in the world yesterday. Now look at them, right? I mean, I don't know. You're going to have to watch these very, very closely. Hold on one second here. You're going to have to watch these very closely. So, you know, you're going to really have to pay attention to it. So that's where my head is. I would be real careful here. I mean, the one that makes the most sense to me is Amazon. And I'm having a hard time saying that I need to buy that here. I'm not really crazy about this particular pattern. There's some patterns out there I really like that when I start seeing them, they're the ones that have my attention. This is not one that has, you know, my attention right now. So just watch it and, you know, we'll go from there. But I think you need to just kind of watch that a little bit. All right. And go from there. And let's do ASI. Market was up a little bit before Goldman, but not like it is. SI. Yep. So I would think names, Paul, like SI, these names can move again. You know, today you're seeing this thing just absolutely implode. But I think that they're good companies for long term, like if you're looking long term, but you can't buy this now if that's what you're asking, right? So, I mean, you know, earnings were not really great. I don't know that I'd be shorting something down 13% if that's where you're going with it. FYI, it always helps me if you tell me which way you're looking at your trade. It just helps me go a little bit better. I do not see a double top in that. And let's go through snow and then we'll go double top and then we'll go from there. I don't see a double top in that. Look, can this rally? Yes. You have a heck of a lot to get through. Remember, this was earnings last time right here, right? So you have a lot to get through here, but these companies crushed earnings last quarter, right? Corporate spending was still there. So I think software is a very interesting play right here. I don't see a double top here. I don't see a double top. Could we reject the 22-day? Yeah, you could. You could. All right, everybody, I got to hop in the trading room. Everybody trade to win today. I wouldn't buy that weakness, Paul. We can go over it, but I wouldn't do that. The link to preview the trading room is below. I didn't have time to post it. If you're interested, take a look because I'm probably going to close it, I think, for the rest of the year very shortly. I'm not going to open it, I think, for a little bit, just so everybody can start settling in. All right, everybody, trade to win today. If you need anything, reach out.